Time to start a new chapter. And I have also now started my new year here at university. I say here, but I'm not even there. I'm there in a figurative sense, I'm not present now. Okay. Words, English language. But yeah, so had my first few lectures today. Pretty decent. Well, I say first few, but first one lecture, and then ow, my ears. Dun, 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 dun. Okay, and now we're in the present. Okay, if Susato comes back to Britain, I'm gonna have to add her costume. And you know what? Let's do his mean costume. Fine.
The grand end of the century great exhibition of London. Surely there is not a soul who has failed to hear of it. Wondrous new works of culture and industry from every corner of the globe had converged on Hyde Park, welcoming over 50 million visitors. The last great hurrah of this century. Astonished and delighted people of all nations, and ended on a note of resounding success. But as regards to the terrible catastrophe that occurred during the festivities, very few are aware my friend Mr. Herlock Sholmes had a hand in unraveling the matter. For from the shadows, it was he who earnestly unearthed the facts of the case. And like the centerpiece of the great exhibition, which rose high into the skies of Hyde Park, Sholmes's brilliant deductions, as clear and lofty as the Crystal Tower itself, brought the truth to light.
We're here at the showground of the Great Exhibition, which is absolutely packed with people.
Okay. Okay. Also, I've been wrong this whole time. I could have sworn that in the first game they said that the new century was already here. But okay, fine. It's like 1898 or 1899. Fine. I was close enough.
The weather is unusually fine, and we're about to witness a most extraordinary scientific experiment.
Ladies and gentlemen, the 20th century will see steam engines and electrical power dominate the world. Horse-drawn carts will give way to the motor car. Ships will sprout wings and take to the skies. And today, we showcase even more advanced technology, a glimpse into the future. A world first, a demonstration of my super high voltage instantaneous kinesis machine! A man will literally be disassembled by a pulse of high voltage electricity and beamed to another location. Whereupon his body will be reassembled by a series of complex calculations exactly as it was before. In but a few moments from now, this gentleman will, in the blink of an eye, complete an incredible journey through the air. To arrive an instant later on the Crystal Tower behind you!
This one, yes! Woo! Yes!
This client is going to get on my nerves in the first 10 minutes. And also, I really hope it was meant to be like a, you know, like a bullshit magic trick. And they aren't going to try and explain some weird ass nonsense like faux technology. That shit pisses me off.
You're really not your usual self today. You seem very down. Don't you agree, Hurley?
Did you say something, Iris?
Oh gosh, you're even more down.
Oh, when did you arrive, Mr. Nerehudo? I've been here for about half an hour already. We had breakfast together. I've got to change this back. It's just a bit too much. Ah, that's better. I've been here about half an hour already. We had breakfast together. What? Let us engage in the art of deduction. What? Why didn't you mention it before? I thought you might have known I was here. You know, because breakfast? Iris is quite right. You are clearly lacking in vim. So much so that I didn't notice your presence. Thanks. Of course, I could deduce the reason perfectly well with some simple observation. What? Let's see. Yes, for example, your tousled hair this morning, with all its unruly spikes. Clearly, it can be deduced, therefore, that... let me stop you there, Mr. Sholmes, because I think I can see where this is going. My hair always looks like this. It always has. Ever since we first met, in fact. Oh, really? How interesting. It just doesn't look like a haircut as such, I suppose. Thanks again. It crossed my mind recently that it's been 6 months now.
6 months?
Since I was forbidden from working in court. Yeah, why? So I've been wondering how much longer... Oh yeah, we know why. It's because he leaked secrets, right? So I've been wondering how much longer I'm going to be banned.
Oh, well, that would explain why you seem rather glum. Don't you agree, Hurley?
Did you say something, Iris? Ah, back to moping.
What's the matter with Mr. Sholmes today?
Oh, what's the matter with Mr. Sholmes today? He seems even more down in the dumps than me.
I know, and the great exhibition has opened. You'd think he'd be excited. Oh, why don't we all go and see it together?
I want to, of course I do, but I can't. Not for the time being. Why not? Why not? Why not? Because I'm a great detective after all. So you're embroiled in some tricky case that you can't be distracted from? Is that it?
I don't remember hearing that you're working on a case, Hurley.
No, it's because I'm not allowed to arrive until the case arrives. I suppose I should try to find out what's going on. New dialogue. Okay, first I shall examine the whiteboard. Ah, yes, this is where you note down ideas, isn't it, Iris? What's in the melting pot today? The blue carbuncle.
Yes, it's from a case of theft that Hurley solved ages ago. The theft of a precious stone. A carbuncle is another name for garnet, you see. Especially if it's cut with a rounded top.
Oh, really? And this garnet was blue, was it?
No, well, that's the thing. They're usually red. No blue garnets have ever been discovered.
Oh.
So who knows what the stolen gemstone actually was? That's the real mystery of the case.
Proper Herlock Sholmes conundrum now. We've already done that one before. Anyway, let's do the things.
Oh, so you have a scale balances in Japan too, don't you?
Oh, I've already read this as well. All this dialogue's probably the same as well, right? Wait, this is new. I do love a good fire in the colder months. Watching the flames flickering and dancing about is just so very relaxing.
Cleaning out the chimney isn't so relaxing, though.
No, getting covered in soot isn't my idea of fun.
You know, Hurley decided he was going to clean it out himself last year. But you can guess what happened, can't you? He got himself stuck inside the flue.
He's a very slim man, I admit, but there are limits to where a fully grown man can fit.
Now every time he dozes off by the fire, he has nightmares about it.
All these different pieces of evidence from cases that Mr. Sholmes have solved are very interesting.
Trouble is, Hurley forgets things so quickly. He never remembers why these things are relevant. The other day, for example, he saw the orange pips that were there and decided to plant them in the garden.
Pips? Read this.
Yes, they've all sprouted now. We have 5 new little plants.
Oh, well, I don't know what case they were from, but Mr. Sholmes can get oranges to grow outside in England. He should change his profession. Didn't even think of that. Ah, yes, the huge metal chest with the lace cloth laid on it, being used as a table for tea and coffee. Very sturdy, that's for sure, and firmly locked shut.
That chest contains my father's detailed records of Hurley's many cases.
Yes, so I've been led to believe, though personally I've never actually seen inside.
And that's the way it will stay. Those papers are a secret between Daddy and me. If you go opening it uninvited, you might find yourself being bitten.
What? Is there a beast inside there or something? I look forward to finding out what Romeo T will have, Iris, every single day. I've already read this. I should really stop. Fine, I finally managed to stop myself. Oh, Mr. Sholmes, about this.
Shush! Not another word. Ah, yes, I see.
You read this.
That would be a collar for a breed of miniature canine with a particularly long neck, and for winter use.
Actually, it's the armband I always wear that symbolises my role in the penciler.
Precisely. Which leads us but to one conclusion. Your arm is in fact a particularly long canine.
Are you investigating a particularly tricky case at the moment, Mr. Sholmes?
You could say that, I suppose.
Nothing more to add? That's not like you. What sort of case is it?
Shush! Quiet, Mr. Naruhodo. We must not discuss this here. We must not discuss it here. You never know who might be listening.
You're acting very strangely, Hurley.
What do you mean, Iris?
Well, usually, the more mysterious and complicated a case is, the better Hurley's mood.
Ah,
Is it really a case that's bothering you?
Iris, please, you mustn't exercise your astute powers of observation and deduction on me without invitation. Remember what I always say. Put yourself in the shoes of the individual about whom you're making deductions.
You say that, do you? You, Mr. Sholmes?
Never mind. Once I've had a cup of tea, I must make my way at once to the crime scene.
That was a deep sigh. Half a year ago now, I took on the defence of a young girl in a trial heard at the Old Bailey. What at first seemed like a simple case of murder that took place at a London pawnbrokery turned out to be one part of a much more far-reaching plot that involved the British government. During the course of the trial, it was found that I made an unavoidable, yet at the same time, unforgivable mistake.
Words, Fabian. This situation is utterly deplorable. Mr. Naruhodo.
Oh, fuck, I didn't... I'm not going back to the menu just to change it. Just pretend he's in his uniform. Yes, my lord.
I will decide upon your fate following the conclusion of this trial.
Of course, my lord. In the end, I had my right to represent people in court revoked. Told I had to spend time in research and study. So that's what I've been doing.
You have, haven't you, Rono? Reading all those big fat tomes about British law up in your room, and the notes about Sholmes's old cases.
Brewing Iris special blends of tea, fetching my daily bread for me. You've become something of a manservant around here. Start on the silverware next, Master Naruhodo.
Well, I'm thinking of going to ask the powers that be to reconsider. Specifically Lord Strongheart of the British Supreme Court on Whitehall.
Lord Strongheart? You're going to Whitehall, are ya?
Ah, the delightful Lord Chief Justice. Not my favourite fellow.
He's not mine either, but he's the man I have to talk to. He's the only one who can grant permission for me to start working in the courts again. I came to Britain to become the best lawyer I could. I can't do that just sitting around here. whole of London has been swept up in this great exhibition, hasn't it?
The most advanced science, the most modern technology, the finest works of art and feats of engineering. For the next 6 months, our capital will be showcasing these things, and the world will be watching.
Oh, do you know what I'd like to do? I'd like to look down on London from one of those lovely balloons.
Look down on? Do you mean those things? Fly?
Yes, of course. They fly high in the sky and don't even need wings to do it. All you need is hot air.
But how? How does hot air have anything to do with flying? Makes no sense. I can't understand it at all.
That's true of a lot of new scientific discoveries. Most people can't understand them at first. But in 100 years' time, all these things will just be common knowledge.
I suppose they might be.
Mind you, some of the science being demonstrated seems very questionable. Something went wrong on the open experimentation stage yesterday, apparently. There was a huge explosion. Still, I wish I'd seen it though. I'd love to see how bad some of these scam experiments really are.
Says the innocent 10-year-old girl. Scam experiments. Okay, yeah, it was a magic trick.
See here, every page of this paper carries some article or other about the great exhibition. But the brighter things shine, the darker the shadows that are cast behind them. Personally, I find myself drawn to the darkness, to the impenetrable. That is my proper atmosphere.
Shadows cast behind? Not a metaphorical way of referring to the back page of the paper. Ah, good one. Okay, fine, Mr. Sholmes, I'll do your silly little thing. Every article on the front page is news about the Great Exhibition. Public experiments to demonstrate brand new scientific ideas, cultural exhibits from around the globe. It's also positive and hopeful about the coming century. We must all go see it properly before too long. No, put away. Okay. London News. Everybody's favourite newspaper. The Daily Record of the British Empire. The Great Exhibition of all nations. Eyes of the world are on the Crystal Tower. Tower garners worldwide acclaim. London, Britain, and the Industrial Revolution. Never, that word is never. Industrialization, retrospective. First test of matter transport device, wow. 10 pages, 1 penny. Wow, what a deal. Ooh, whoa. Hang on. Maybe the case isn't going to be that weird magic trick bullshit. Or maybe it's going to be like tangentially related, which happens a lot. King Christian VIII reverses ruling, awards prize to Mitchells. You're talking about King Christian VIII. Something group? New something group. The Reaper attacked Lord Van Zykes and compatriot Ormond. Ruffians aim to intimidate Man of Justice. Somebody captures bombing burglar? Skeleton captures bombing burglar? Public health report. Public health services. St. Bartholomew's. A lost cat. Please contact if you have any information. Our beloved family cat happened. Something happened. Something on the. Something of something. And then the rest is incomprehensible. Retrospective. Oh wait, yeah, I need to examine it. I spent all that time reading the words, but... So many glowing reports about the Great Exhibition and everything that's going on there. Other than this rather gloomy looking one, that is. Wait, what?
What's the matter, Runo?
The Reaper attacked? Okay, can I read properly, please? Ruffians aim to intimidate man of justice. London prosecutor Barrett van Zykes, something under threat, yet something heavily armed assailant. He's with knives and pistols. The sight of the his companion, something with blackguards, reported who Chief Justice's office. So when we go to there, there's going to be stuff going on there. Zykes in his condition. Van Zykes in his condition. Fiery ball gowns sets dance hall ablaze. An evening of cordial dancing turned into a blazing ball last week when one of the lady attendees' dresses accidentally caught on fire. In her panic at the sudden appearance of flames at her feet, the lady dashed madly about. The whole of the... no fewer than 3... Thankfully, the fires... well, sure. French court hears glass eye case. Le juge de paix of Neuilly was presented today with the most curious case of a lady who refused to pay her dues for the purchase of one glass eye. The whole affair began when Madame Pluyette, the defendant, ordered the eye as a replacement for the natural eye she had lost. Upon its arrival, she found that she could see no more with it than she could before, and became incensed at the thought of paying for a deficient product. The juge de paix of the attempted to reason with the madame, but the endeavour proved to be entirely fruitless. Altamont Gas Company? Advert, clean, dependable, choose Altamont Gas? In a rather unexpected fashion, King Christian VIII of Denmark made a proclamation today before the results of his... That's Lord Van Zykes! Made the proclamation today, the results of his consideration as to who would be the winner of the prize. Someone Frederick VI offered something, discover any with the aid of a tele... It appears that the winner will not even be a man at all, but rather a young American lady by the name of Maria Mitchell of Nantucket, Massachusetts. There were multiple competing claims of the new comet's discovery from all nations, including one by British astronomer Mr. William Rutter's Dawes. King Christian was swayed by the fervent petition of Harvard President Edward Everett, who urged the Charge d'Affaires of the United States at Copenhagen. As the fact of Miss Mitchell's discovery is undoubted and recognised throughout it would be a pity for the medal to go to someone else. This must be what Mr. Sholmes was talking about. No, I'm pretty sure he was actually talking about the fiery ball gown setting ablaze. Or King Christian VIII. Does he know any more, I wonder? I can view that first paragraph before the fucking box appears. But... in fact, you know, I'm going to take a screenshot of it. In rather unexpected fashion, King Christian VIII of Denmark issued a proclamation today announcing the results of his careful reconsideration as to who is the rightful winner of the prize. His father, Frederick VI, offered for the first man to discover any new comet with the aid of a telescope, it should be. It appears that the winner will not be a man at all. Blah 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 blah. That's what we call worth it. It says in the paper that Lord Van Zykes was attacked. That's terrible.
You know the legend of the Reaper of the Bailey, of course, don't you? Only too well, in fact.
Yes, Prosecutor Barak Van Zykes. They say that if the Reaper is the prosecutor in a case, there's no salvation for whoever's in the dock. Dun, 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 dun. Even if the defendant is found not guilty. Once the Reaper has someone in his sights, one way or another, that person's time left on this earth will be short.
London's finest rogues always find ways around the law. They'll stop at nothing to secure an acquittal at trial. Falsifying evidence, paying sham witnesses, threatening jurors, bribing judges. But even such devious tactics as these cannot save them from the hand of the Reaper. As you've experienced yourself, haven't you, Mr. Naruhodo?
Yes, I've seen the Reaper's retribution at work.
Many of these criminal rogues are reckless and quite unafraid to die.
That's back to where it should be. Okay. Testing, testing. Okay, this is decent volume, I think.
If a leader among their fraternity is seen to have been taken by the Reaper, retaliation like this does occur. Really, the capital has a never-ending supply of such scoundrels.
So, do you mean Lord Van Zykes has been attacked like this before? This isn't the first time.
He's quite an accomplished combatant, you know. He doesn't take these attacks lying down. Although, it seems that his assailants were armed with guns this time.
Oh my goodness, is he alright then? Is Lord Van Zykes hurt?
My dear fellow, how on earth would I know?
Well, in the article here it says, as to what of Lord Van Zykes and his condition, all will be revealed in tomorrow's morning edition.
Ah, I see. Well, we shall have to be patient then.
No, I can't wait until tomorrow.
In that case, you shall have to inquire with somebody in the know.
But who? Strongheart, perhaps. Okay. Yay!
Well, I must be leaving now.
Yes, understood. See you later, Mr. Sholmes.
Ha! You really are a shameless liar sometimes, my dear fellow.
What?
You seek to put me off my guard and follow me, don't you? Well, you'd be wasting your time.
The thought hadn't crossed my mind. Now I'm wondering where he's going.
Ah ha 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 ha. Well then, see you later indeed.
Listen to him. He's still laughing on his way out of the door. What the fuck?
Alright then, Bruno. Let's get going.
Oh, Iris? What are you wearing?
I've got changed to go to the Great Exhibition. And you're going to take me.
What? But I was just about to go to the Supreme Court.
Oh, well that sounds fun too. You're going to take me there then.
Oh, right, fine. Just lower that weapon, would you?
Of course. And after the Supreme Court, then we'll go to see the Great Exhibition.
Ba-ba-ba-ba. Is she still going to be wearing her thing? It's a weird outfit. Every time I look at this machine, I can't help thinking what a monstrosity it is. What's it called again?
The Great Analytoscope. It can analyse anything, you know.
It does seem incredible, and at the same time, incredibly useless.
Oh, but it looks impressive, doesn't it? That makes it very useful.
How does that make it useful?
Because it means you can pawn it for lots of money. The pawnbrokers are always make idle remarks like, "What an incredible looking machine." So Hurley often takes it to the pawn shop when he's a little short.
Sounds like this thing pulls its weight around here more than I realised. By having its weight pulled around. Dun, dun, dun. Books, papers, scientific implements. These shelves are stuffed to the gunnels. Miss Usato wouldn't be able to help herself if she were her. She can't stand this.
Sosie might not be able to stand mess, but she wouldn't dare touch those shelves.
Oh, why not?
Everything's in intricate balance. Hurley spends ages on it. If you were to touch even one thing, a whole lot would come to just tumbling down. Sosie noticed it was a very delicate arrangement right from the outset.
Make it sound like a meeting of great minds. The truth is, Mr. Sholmes just needs to tidy up. Ah yes, Mr. Sholmes' faithful musical companion. Wasn't this violin named after someone famous?
Yes, it's a Stradivarius. I'm afraid you'll have to save up for 100 years before you could afford one, Bruno.
If I were to save up for 100 years, I wouldn't choose to buy a violin, personally.
Oh, what would you buy then?
I really have no idea. I think I'll have to do it so I can find out. Maybe I'll buy an Apple Mac 2. That's what they're called. Wait, what am I saying? What was my Lord Strongheart voice again? What was it? I'll have to go and listen to it. The office spade. Now that Miss Usato's gone, the shovelers aren't represented to correct me. Maybe I'll have to do it myself. It's not a spade, Mr. Naruhodo, it's a shovel.
Oh, so you're a spader, are you, Bruno? What, you want to battle it out?
All right, I'm not going to argue with a native English speaker who has some kind of gun. Miss Usato's tea set that she left here with me. I still think green tea is just too bitter, though. Thank goodness for sugar and milk. Mr. Sholmes certainly wasn't expecting the acrid taste. I've never heard someone let out a scream like that before, or seen anyone fall down the stairs quite like that either. It always brings a smile to my lips when I'm feeling a little down.
Oh well, do you know what that reminds me of? The day I gave you some black coffee when you weren't expecting it. You fell all the way down the stairs as well, didn't you, Bruno?
Yes, do you think we could try and forget that, please, Iris? That doesn't bring a smile to my lips at all. The kettle's gently simmering away on top of the stove as usual. It was kind of Miss Usato to send that Japanese tea. You really like it, don't you, Iris? But for me, it's the sound of the stove and burbling kettle that I like the most, on biting winter mornings.
And it feels even cosier in here when the delightful Iris pours the tea for me. I really couldn't manage without that wonderful young girl. Oh, Runo, it's so sweet of you to say so.
Putting words in my mouth, please, Iris. Now, at first glance, my desk here might look as though it's in a mess. However, it's not in a mess at all. Everything is exactly where I want it to be. Whenever Miss Usato looked at it, she'd put her hand on her hips and say, "Oh dear." Her way of saying that I should make it more orderly and neat. Her way of saying that I should make it a more orderly and neat mess. I missed that.
You sound just like Hurley, you know. He says the same about his mess.
The kind of logic that transcends international borders, obviously. Fuck me. Nothing particularly of note. It's Miss Susato's desk. I suppose it won't get used now that she's gone back to Japan. I guess it'll just have to wait here patiently for its old friend to return.
Even now, I sometimes find myself pouring a cup of tea, even now, I still sometimes find myself pouring a cup of tea for Susie by mistake.
Ah, that explains why I sometimes find a steaming cup on her desk here. It shocks me every time. It's just one of your pranks, I see.
It's no prank, I'll miss her.
I never did see what Miss Susato's room looks like. I could go in now, of course. I don't dare. They say our young maiden's private chamber is a place of bittersweet secrets. Although from the laughter I used to hear when you would visit, I imagine it's mainly sweet.
Oh, we used to have such fun in Susie's room. She told me all sorts of interesting things about your country, you know.
Look at the prawns and then the anemones gently swaying around in the tank. Regular cleaning, some food and fresh seawater is all I need. And some conversation, of course. It seemed like a lot of effort at first, but it was worth it. I'm starting to be able to tell what they're thinking. Funny to think that so many people in London had aquariums like this once, when they were in vogue. You'd never expect to find sea anemones in the middle of the capital. I think I'll have to name them soon.
Oh no, Runo's disappeared.
What?
Oh, I expect he's been eaten by Hurley.
I think I'd prefer it if you'd used your imagination more when naming the sea life.
I'm so excited about the prospect of Naruhodo's Anything Consultancy opening for business again.
That's not what it's called. It's Naruhodo's legal consultancy. Wow, this girl could really see 150 years in the future, huh? I've done a lot of studying in these past 6 months, reading law texts and judicial precedents. I'm sure I'm a better lawyer now. I can't wait to start practicing again.
Nothing's changed in here at all, though, has it? It's as though time has stood still in here since Susie went back to Japan.
I wanted to keep it ready for Miss Susato, in case she were able to return to Britain at any point. I've just left everything the way it was.
Oh, I see. Right. And there was me thinking it was because of the way you are, Runo. You know, never bothering to tidy up, I mean.
Iris, this isn't the time or the place to bring up my tidiness. Or lack of it. Iris, have a quick look at this.
Your lawyer's armband? How many times have you shown me that, Runo?
Oh, sorry. It's very important to me, that's all. I don't feel complete somehow if I'm not wearing it.
Well, personally, I think you should try wrapping some different things around your arm from time to time.
Oh, really? Like what?
Perhaps a pretzel.
Pretzel? I've never heard that word before.
Well, I think it's a kind of German defence lawyer's symbol.
Interesting. I'll have to try wearing one sometime. That was worth it. Iris, about this paper.
Oh yes, it's all about the great exhibition. I'm so excited about it. Once you've done what you need to do, we should all go together and explore.
I don't know. It sounds like it could be quite dangerous. We wouldn't want to get caught in an explosion as we were walking around in the showground.
Oh, is that what you think's gonna happen, is it?
Right, okay, I'm gonna find his voice out. I'm gonna go back here so it's silent. Then I'm gonna mute this audio of the stream and go and listen to my old VOD.
All too An all too transpicious case. The pickpocket was clearly disturbed mid-robbery. Yeah.
There we go. I think I've got it.
Mid-robbery. Yeah.
He's definitely a kind of guy. Not like Van Zykes is. It's been about 6 months now since I was last here. But some things never change. Like the sense of a foreboding that I always seem to feel in this place. Doesn't seem to be bothering Iris at all, though. She's happily reading over there.
Oh, I love this place. I always find so many interesting books here.
Of course. I was forgetting that you've been here before. The time we came here 6 months ago. Oh, fuck, it's costumes. Okay, she isn't going to be back in this game, in this chapter, so I'm going to change her back to the Japanese garb. She can get her English garb once she returns back in England. Susato-san was given the news that she was to return to Japan.
I understand. I understand you wish to speak with me.
Oh, Lord Strongheart. I trust you've been keeping well.
Let's see. Since you arrived and requested an audience, it's been 4 hours, 32 minutes, and 26 seconds. I've kept you waiting a while. My apologies.
Oh no, not at all. I like nothing more than standing around, staring into space.
Good to know.
Good to know that he doesn't appear to bother. It doesn't appear to bother him at all. Male Strongheart, Lord Chief Justice of London. Maelstrom Hart. He's the man who allowed me to start practicing as a defense lawyer when I arrived in Britain as a student. That's the bit I think is like a bit of a motif. You need only savor the air for a moment in this grand office to understand his preeminent status.
Well, as you will be aware, the Great Exhibition of London is now underway at last. We're extremely busy as a result, policing the grounds, guarding the new technologies, dealing with petty crime. Furthermore, as of next month, we shall open the International Forensic Science Symposium.
Okay. I mean, this part is, well, I mean, some of this surely is part of the Home Office's responsibilities. Have you not had a chat with the Home Secretary about this?
And furthermore, as of next month, we shall open the International Forensic Science Symposium.
Oh, I've not heard about that.
Investigating authorities from 40 countries around the globe will be taking part, including from your own land. Forensic science is the future. The world must embrace it. As we're the hosting nation, I have much to do. And it is my highest priority. If others must wait for my attention as a result, so be it.
Well, it's nice to know where I stand.
So, you wish to consult with me? Of course, I can very well imagine what this is about. Imagine what this is about.
Ah, well, thank you for agreeing to this meeting, my lord. I want to be allowed to start working as a defense lawyer again in court. That's what brought me here today. Actually, there's something else playing on my mind as it happens.
Rono, just take a deep breath and come out with it.
How is my learned friend, Mr. Barak van Zykes, or Lord Barak van Zykes, rather? That's gotta be a motif. It gets I swear it's like very similar to a certain part in Gregson's theme. You couldn't read all these books even if you were reincarnated 3 times over as a bookworm.
Oh, I know, so much reading material. I'm very envious. I've really been running out of things to read recently.
That's because you read so fast.
Perhaps little by little I should swap could swap some of the books here from some of mine at home.
I don't see why not. No one would notice, or at least I wouldn't, even if I was reincarnated 3 times over as a librarian.
Oh, I've just had a great idea.
What is it?
We could hide inside these suits of armour and spy on the Fob Watch Master to find out what he's really like.
I don't have much interest in what Lord Strongheart is really like, though.
Oh, please, it would be fun. You could be inside the left one, and I'll go in the right.
You really want to have a go in the suit of armour, don't you?
Now you're making fun of me just because I'm a child, aren't you?
I wasn't making fun of you at all. I'd like to have a go too. The cogs of this giant clock are keeping time usual with their steady the cogs of this giant clock are keeping time as usual with their steady rhythmical motion. It's really quite disturbing how little sound they make considering their massive size. Oh yeah, they got rid of the sound. The sound engineers worked so long on that. I read in the developer commentary.
Someone very brilliant must have designed it, and whoever maintains it must be very talented too. But I'm not entirely convinced it's even a clock.
What? But what about the huge clock face that forms the window over there?
Some people just make machines that move for the fun of it, because they enjoy watching them. Rather like how Hurley makes his rambling deductions just for the fun of it. Even if the outcome isn't quite right.
Never mind all the trouble it gets others into along the way. The Lord Chief Justice's desk. When you look at that, there's no mistaking Lord Strongheart's authority, is there? But little do I know, his permanent secretary is the one really in charge.
But the light from that window behind is far too bright. It would be very bad for the eyes.
I hadn't thought of that. There are no curtains, that's for sure.
What's more important? Having a desk with an air of authority, or having eyes that work?
I can't say I'd ever considered it. After all, my little office barely has any light to speak of. I haven't really seen my desk in a while. Alright, yeah, because it's covered in shit. By the way, Lord Strongheart, about this.
The symbol of a defense lawyer in the Japanese judiciary.
Oh, I didn't expect you'd know that.
We'd never accept foreign students before first researching the legal systems of their home countries. But such trinkets are merely for show. The only true measure of your worth is your performance in court.
Yes, right. Oh, that reminds me. Have you seen this?
The reports of overwhelming success of the Great Exhibition. Of course.
No, not that. The story on the back page.
What story? The Reaper attacked. Ah, that. You've enjoyed some victories in court against my #1 prosecutor, have you not?
Poor Mr. Reaper. What happened to him? He wasn't killed, was he?
Oh, there's no need for concern. Lord Van Zykes would not be so easily dispatched, I assure you.
Can you tell us what happened? I'd really love to know.
Very well. If it interests you.
It does, strangely. I actually came here today to ask for your permission.
Go on.
6 months ago, my right to work in court as a lawyer was revoked, and I was told to spend my time studying. Obviously, I'm very sorry for what happened, but the thing is, made me understand what it really means to defend somebody under the rules of a foreign justice system. I desperately want to have another go. Please, permit me to enter the courtroom again.
Mr. Naruhodo.
Yes. Here it comes.
Oh, I'm sure you haven't forgotten your position here, have you? At best, you are a substitute for your compatriot. This was never your intended role.
Well, that's true. The Japanese government actually sent my best friend on this study tour, not me. It should have been Kazuma. He was so determined to bring change to our own justice system at home. That was his calling. If that tragic accident hadn't happened, I wouldn't be here in this office now. Mr. Isogi was my best friend, you see. Noises. Email. Oh, just a stupid SU, like, week 1 update. At least they're weekly, not daily. Look on the bright side. Mr. Isogi was my best friend. Well, Mr. Isogi was my best friend, you see. That's why I can't leave it unfinished. I have to fulfill his calling for him.
His calling, you say? Has it never occurred to you that perhaps you know nothing of his true calling?
Sorry?
The mission with which the young law student was charged. What do you suppose it really was?
What do you mean? Mission? It's not making any sense.
Never mind. I've read all the reports you've submitted over the past 6 months. It's clear to me that you regret your actions and have been studiously obeying your revised instructions.
Do you mean?
As of this moment, I reinstate your license to practice law here in Great Britain.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
That's wonderful news, Rono.
In fact, I believe I have the perfect case to mark your comeback. A curious affair. You'll consider it, I hope.
Of course. Please tell me more.
All sorts of conferences have been taking place around the world to coincide with the Great Exhibition. And next month, the largest and most important of them will take place at last. At least for my department, anyway. The International Forensic Science Symposium.
It does seem as though criminal investigation needs to embrace scientific methods, doesn't it?
Exactly.
Ah!
London, the global epicenter of culture, science and wealth, now has a population exceeding 6 million. Sadly, crime in the capital is growing at a similarly startling rate. So it's imperative that we use the latest scientific methods to investigate and resolve cases as efficiently as possible.
Which is what's known as forensic science, isn't it?
Exactly, the future of policing.
Oh!
Regrettably, however, Britain is currently dragging its feet when it comes to the adoption of forensic methods. My permanent secretary tells me time and time again that it will have to wait until the next election cycle. There is no time to implement it, he says. Huh.
Boom, boom, ba-da, boom.
Later. Well, we're going to have to do it later, he says. The Department of Justice is a farce, I tell you. Without me here, nothing would get done. Britain is currently dragging its feet when it comes to the adoption of forensic methods.
Oh dear, that's alarming.
Exactly. It's extremely alarming.
Ah. Oh.
I don't know how to do that noise.
If I were Her Majesty's Attorney General, you can be sure. I'm totally not looking for a promotion, I can tell you.
Wait. Wait. Am I going to have to look up about government departments again? Departments of Her Majesty's Government. 1890. Let's The Attorney General's office is separate to the Ministry of Justice. Okay. Ministry of Justice. Who is the current Minister of Justice? Alright. Yeah. Right, literally 3 weeks ago he was the Foreign Secretary, but now
The Right Honourable Dominic Raab, MP, is the Lord Chancellor and Secretary of State for Justice. Antonia Romeo is the permanent secretary. Who is Antonia Romeo? She's only been in the job for 9 months, so that's fairly long, actually. Well, one thing's for sure, the Attorney General's office is far senior to mine. If I were Her Majesty's Attorney General, you can be sure the numbers of crimes committed and resolved in London would be very different to the current figures. And I can cite 12 solid arguments and 225 individual reasons to support my claim.
sorry?
By way of apology for keeping you waiting earlier, I shall detail everyone now.
What?
Oh, how fascinating.
It all began 15 years ago. I joined the civil service at the age of 21, but then after that And that, more or less, sums up my feelings on the matter, in the simplest terms, of course. Essentially, to formally establish a forensic investigation division within Scotland Yard. That is my mission.
Oh, right, yes. That's wonderful.
Exactly. Wonderful is precisely what it will be.
Iris isn't paying any attention at all. She's got her nose in another book now.
Oh, is it over? Did you learn anything useful?
I actually drifted off for the most part. He's surprisingly ardent about forensic science. I'm gonna double check the meaning of ardent. I've heard the word plenty of times, but like... passionate, yes. Fervent, there you go. You described it as a curious affair.
Yes, that's right. I believe it was reported in the press. Are you aware that there was a serious accident at the Great Exhibition yesterday?
Oh, no.
Yes, I read about it. A professor from Germany tried to carry out a crazy experiment. Let me see, how was it described? Super high voltage instantaneous kinesis, I think.
Instantaneous kinesis, as in moving things with a click of fingers?
That's right. It's just what my herbal blend needs. A dash of devil-may-care.
Whatever this serious accident was exactly, it's clearly captured Ivis's imagination.
Oh, it's an unfortunate business. A large explosion engulfed the public experimentation stage, and a man lost his life. A certain Mr. Odie Asman.
Odie Asman. Odie Asman. Odie Asman. Odie Asman. Odie Asman. Oh, Odie Asman.
A certain Mr. Odie Asman, an investor and a well-known figure in society.
A large explosion.
A man died?
The man responsible for the experiment was Professor Albert Harebrain. Albert Harebrain.
Obviously, they had to call him Albert because he's a German physicist from this era. Albert Einstein.
He was detained immediately after the incident and is due to appear in court tomorrow on the charge of murder.
What? Murder?
If you intend to take on his defense, you should hurry to meet with him at the prison. There is very little time left for you to carry out any kind of investigation.
Great exhibition. A scientific experiment gone wrong. And murder. I feel out of my depth before I've even started. Still.
We should go to the prison straight away then, and try and meet with this German professor. What don't you think?
Definitely.
Ah, yes. One more thing about the case. There's a connection with our mutual acquaintance, the Reaper.
Oh, with Lord Van Sykes? How?
Fortunately, Lord Van Sykes emerged from the attack unscathed. Street ruffians are no match for that man. He's a very capable fighter.
But that's incredible. They were armed with guns. Why was he attacked, though? Do we know?
It's related to events that occurred a month ago. A leader of one of the capital's criminal organizations was indicted and prosecuted by Van Sykes. The man was acquitted. I've no doubt large sums of money were involved behind the scenes.
Large sums of money?
A deplorable situation. Members of the jury were bribed, it seems. However, despite winning his freedom, the man in question met a dramatic end yesterday.
But you're not suggesting that that was the work of the Reaper, surely?
The victim's henchmen certainly seemed to think so. He was a man by the name of Asman, Mr. Odie Asman.
Oh, okay. So the investor was a part of some criminal group. Did you say Asman?
That's the man who died in the big explosion at the Great Exhibition.
Yes, known publicly as an investor, but in reality, the head of a significant criminal organization.
Unbelievable. I wonder, could I ask you something, Lord Strongheart?
Try me.
Why do you use Lord Van Zykes as a prosecutor? All the criminals who manage to get off in court then meet with mysterious ends outside the courtroom. And fearful of that fate, they seek to strike at Lord Van Zykes first. I know there's no evidence that he actually is the Reaper in that sense, but still, something's clearly going on here.
Oh, I have Van Zykes work for the prosecution service for 2 reasons. Firstly, the man is the best prosecutor in the capital, bar none. And secondly, any deaths of criminals that have occurred outside the courtroom following his trials are nothing to do with him.
That doesn't make sense. How can you explain the way so many have died, if not by someone's hand?
Van Zykes may have earned himself the moniker of the Reaper, but he is no killer. So he will continue to prosecute on behalf of the Crown. Unless he wishes otherwise, of course. Well, I must be leaving for my next engagement. Oh. I'm already 11 hours and 16 minutes late. My colleagues may be starting to fidget. To the Cabinet Office.
11 hours late? That's quite something.
Oh, that meeting had already started when I arrived back here with for this engagement with you. So lateness was inevitable. Time stops for no man.
I'm sure it stopped for me during those 12 solid arguments and 223 reasons. Oh yes, where would I find Lord Van Zykes now?
Bartholomew Hospital. I would assume he's at his office.
Right, I'll go and ask him about the attack in person. I want to get this straight from the horse's mouth.
Away with you now. I'm leaving Professor Harebrain's defense entirely in your hands.
Oh, of course, yes. Thank you very much, my lord. He's confident. He's confident. If he or his department is behind all the Reaper stuff, right? Then that means they're behind this one as well. But he happily put me on the case. Maybe this one isn't. I don't know. It's hard to imagine what it could be. Oh, we have got the noise back. Prosecutor's office. Wow. I'll go to the prison last, I think. Because I'm gonna have to figure out a voice for Harebrain. Of course he has a chess set. Wow. 3 bottles of wine and 12 chalices.
Oh, so this is the legendary Reaper's office.
Yes, it appears so.
Oh, it sends a chill down your spine, doesn't it? What an amazingly deathly atmosphere.
Oh, is that... That hooded figure was so still, I hadn't noticed his or her presence. I wonder who it is. Is this the new prosecutor? What are you doing here? I want to give him a special voice if he's a new prosecutor. So since I don't know what he looks like now, I'll just. What are you doing here?
Ah,
What are you doing here?
Okay, I got tricked.
What are you doing here?
he's as unwelcoming as I thought he'd be. Actually, maybe even more so. Oh, I'm glad to see you're well.
I am. I am.
So, who's the person over by the wall being punished for something or other?
No punishment is taking place here.
Oh,
That's my apprentice, and he's sitting there of his own free will.
I didn't know you had an apprentice. It must be the same person who was pictured in the newspaper.
He is very able in combat, a requisite skill for anyone under my tutelage.
Are you referring to the attack on the Reaper that was reported in the papers?
The Reaper. I'd be interested to know the Reaper's true identity myself. Assuming, that is, such a fabled fiend genuinely inhabits our great courtrooms.
I waited so long to see this guy outside the courtroom.
Lord Van Zykes, about the article in this paper.
Oh yes, it seems there was a reporter nearby when that little skirmish took place. I had no idea I'd been photographed. It was careless of me.
It looks as though it was taken after the people who attacked you had run away, though.
Rest assured, the police have already apprehended every last one of them.
But there's someone else fighting alongside you, it seems. And I think it's the same man who's sitting over there as we speak, isn't it?
As I mentioned already, he's my apprentice.
Perhaps you could tell us a little more about him. I know that you've seen this around my arm before, but
What is it exactly?
it's the mark of a defense lawyer, in Japan at least.
And what's your reason for showing it to a British prosecutor?
Oh, well, I don't know really.
I can understand, at least. There's merit in reminding yourself of who you helped to There's merit in reminding yourself of who helped you become what you are today.
Oh,
But that's a personal matter, something you may want to keep close at all times, not something to flaunt.
no, I suppose not. Thank you for understanding, though.
So that's why he wears his prosecutor badge. A personal reason.
Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. Lord Van Zyk's desk look, it's so stylish. And that's a marble chess set beside it. Chess? That's the Western version of our Japanese shogi game, isn't it? You know, I'm actually quite good at shogi problems. Oh really? You'd probably like chess problems in that case. I'd love to challenge Lord Van Zyke sometime. To a bout of shogi problems. If you only really want to challenge yourself, you can always do that on your own at home. Oh look, it's a scale model of the Great Exhibition Showground.
That's amazing. I wonder why it's here.
Perhaps he made it to take the sadness of being too busy to attend in person.
What are all these flags? Let's see how many I recognise, because some of them are going to be old, aren't they? We have Germany, Italy. Why has Italy not got the crest on? France. France had its Republic of France flag. Yes, it did. This can't be Germany. This must be... Well, there's Belgium. There, I presume, is Spain. Switzerland? Not sure what that flag is, because it can't be Germany, because this is Germany. Flags of Europe, 1899. Germany, okay, I was right about Germany. It has black on top though, right? Yeah, black on top for Germany. France had... Okay, France had that flag. Italy did have the you know, the bit in the middle that looks like Denmark's flag. It's not there. Belgium? Yeah, that's Belgium. Spain? Yeah, that's Spain. That must be Switzerland. Can't be Denmark. Then who the hell? Is it Andorra? No, it's not Andorra. It's not far off, but... Black, yellow, red. No. It's similar to the Austrian flag. It's like a mix between Austria and Liechtenstein. Maybe 1890? Austria and Liechtenstein, yeah, it looks like a mix of Austria and Liechtenstein. Austria was a big power. Maybe it's like Austria-Hungary. I don't know.
Perhaps he made it to take his mind off the sadness of being too busy to attend in person.
Or perhaps he's too embarrassed to queue up for a ticket.
Surely it's obvious that I'm using it as an investigative aid.
Ah!
You Nipponese have no business painting others as overly reserved.
Ugh, I really didn't think he'd overhear that. That was a cute little bit of dialogue. Look at that fine collection of hallowed chalices and bottles neatly lined up there.
My hallowed bottles are filled with the essence of the finest grapes from the finest vineyards I visit. And I personally oversee these chalices being made by the finest crystal craftsmen in the world.
and yet you throw them around in court like they were worthless.
Yes, because this imbecile is so unimaginably and repeatedly wide of the mark sometimes. Oh! Before you open your mouth next time, you should consider the poor artisans whose work you defile.
So, it's my fault? Silly me, how could I have ever thought otherwise? That portrait really dominates the room, doesn't it? Oh, he's an army man. This looks like the Royal Guard. It's a very majestic outfit and pose, but sadly, whoever painted it didn't do a very good job of capturing Lord Van Zykes' facial features.
Yes, you're right. I mean, it's not far off, but the artist has exaggerated his subject's handsomeness, I think.
Ah, that reminds me. I heard Emperor Napoleon of France ordered artists to make him look more attractive when they painted him.
How vain. That's really not an attractive quality in a person, is it?
That portrait does not depict me. Surely that's immediately obvious.
Oh, then who is it? So I want to do that one again. Oh no.
That portrait does not depict me. Surely that's immediately obvious.
Oh, then who is it? Got him. Got him. Got him. I want to see the photo again. Or portrait, rather. Oh man, I love Van Zykes. He's got to be one of my favourite prosecutors. But no, I'm gonna save her, because I hope I can't talk to the apprentice until I've actually spoken to Van Zykes about his apprentice. I feel like that's the better way to introduce this new prosecutor. Really? Ugh! They were bats!
Yes, the Reaper's familiars, I expect.
But what about the mute man in the dark cloak? I thought he was the familiar. Just not the flying kind.
He must be a dear friend of Mr. Reaper, then.
I think the familiar idea is more likely. Scary though, either way. So that's going to be this guy's thing, is it? He summons bats in the middle of the courtroom. Look at all those ancient casks lining the wall there.
Casks in the Reaper's chamber? Or are they caskets? Caskets.
You don't think all those people who escaped conviction in court are lying inside them dead, do you?
What ridiculous notions are going through your head, man? This is my collection of fine vintages.
Oh, yes, of course. Thank you for clearing that up.
Bruno and I were just musing to ourselves. Don't mind us, Mr. Reaper.
I wouldn't if you hadn't invited yourselves into my office to talk nonsense within my earshot.
Oh. Okay, I'll save again. It really looks like a punishment to me.
I've never seen someone sitting like that before.
He hasn't moved a muscle since we arrived. He's extremely calm and collected, an almost monk-like figure. Do you think perhaps he's dead?
If he was dead, Rono, he wouldn't be sitting up, would he?
Well, anyway, dead or alive, he's not overly approachable, is he? I don't think he's going to talk to us.
He's not dead.
Okay.
You've been looking around my office for so long now, I was about to leave. Could you hurry up and talk to me if you want to?
Lord Strongheart said that the assault last night was some sort of revenge attack.
True. Carried out by henchmen of Odie Asmon's criminal organization. The investigation meant their arrests were immediate. Presumably some hoped to kill me before that happened.
Odie Asmon?
He's always masqueraded as one of London's most powerful financiers, a global investor. But his enormous wealth came to him by underhanded means, via his criminal activities.
And he used that money to buy himself a verdict of not guilty when he found himself in court, didn't he? Being prosecuted by you, Mr. Reaper.
But the man got his comeuppance in the end. Yesterday, in fact, in extraordinary circumstances. It was a most unusual cause of death.
I know about that. It was super high voltage instantaneous kinesis gone wrong.
Yeah.
Mr. Asmon died when the demonstration on the public experimentation stage ended in an enormous explosion.
Correct. And you think I have some kind of divine ability to cause an accident like that to happen, do you?
Well, no, that does seem a little far-fetched. If this man really is the fabled Reaper, then he has to be innocent of this particular death at least.
It's strange how this has worked out, isn't it, Rono? I mean, what with you taking the Professor's defence for the trial tomorrow?
What? You're going to be defending him?
Oh yes, that's right. Oh, I barely know the man's name yet, to be honest.
What? You're going to be defending him? Albert. Harebrain. Albert Harebrain.
That's right. Do you know him by any chance?
Of course. He's a contemporary of mine. We were at university together.
Oh, you're...
What?
I'd understood that Professor Harebrain was from Germany, though.
Harebrain's from a respectable British family. After graduating from the University of London, he moved to Germany to carry out research. That's all.
So you were students together?
I was in the Faculty of Law, of course, and he in science, so our paths rarely crossed. But curiously, we got along, though I've not met him since my university days. But curiously, we got along, though I've not met him since my university days. I certainly didn't expect our next encounter to take this form. And with you, of all people, representing him.
Ugh. If I make it out of this office alive... He's actually been charged with murder, it seems.
Yes, I know, because the prosecution will be handled by me.
Oh. Oh, I thought I was going to face your apprentice. He seems kind of cool. Sitting there in his monk-like pose. By you? But you made it sound as if you and the Professor had been friends.
We are friends, it's true.
Then why would you do this?
If the Reaper is the prosecutor, then there's nothing anyone can do to save him. He's doomed.
What's Lord Van Zyke's thinking? What do you mean by what you said before? If you'd like to know the Reaper's true identity, does that mean...
I'm a crown prosecutor, and mortal like any... I'm a crown prosecutor, and a mortal like any other. I'm no demigod.
But they've all died, haven't they? The people you've prosecuted, I mean. Whether or not the trial ended in a conviction or an acquittal.
Those I prosecute are the vilest wretches of our society. People who without question deserve to be found guilty. The world is a better place without them.
But that's not true of Mr. Natsume, for example. He wasn't a vile wretch at all.
Nor was Ginny. In fact, she's ever so hard-working now.
I can't deny that since I encountered you, things have taken a turn. But the point is this. If any of those vile wretches that escaped justice subsequently died in mysterious circumstances, it was at the hand of their own kind. It's not my work.
Lord Strongheart said the same. He believes you're not involved in any way.
But you were attacked by those ruffians because they believe it's true.
The fact is, since people started to call me the Reaper of the Bailey, the number of serious crimes in the capital has dropped substantially.
Oh,
It would appear that even the most hardened criminals can be made fearful for their lives.
do you mean to say?
I mean to say that if my pseudonym serves a useful purpose, I adopt it gladly and with honour.
But it's putting you in danger. You could be killed.
If that is my fate, let God decide.
Lord Van Zykes.
Okay,
Time to meet your apprentice and figure out his voice, maybe.
he's in my tutelage to become a prosecutor. So you could say he's my apprentice, I suppose.
Ah, like you are to Hurley then, Rono.
I don't remember taking an apprenticeship with the great detective.
He's currently compiling a report about last night's attack.
It looks like he's wearing some kind of mask.
On Lord Strongheart's orders. Nobody knows the man's face, or indeed his identity.
But why would you agree to take on such a clearly suspicious individual?
Lord Strongheart's orders again. He's not one for meaningless follies. There will be a good reason for his actions.
I hope you're right. Ah!
The task is complete. Good. In that case, you can collate all the briefs.
Maybe Apollo Justice voice, but like slightly sinister. That's what I'm thinking. Sinister Apollo Justice. Nice to meet you. Back to work again. That was really strange, though. I've never met the man before. I didn't even know he existed. And yet, somehow, it didn't feel like our first encounter. Somehow it didn't feel like our first encounter. Somebody back from the dead, or somebody who we thought had died who hasn't. Who could it be? Let's think. It couldn't be Detective Hosonaga. That would be way too far-fetched. What if it is Detective Hosonaga? He is good at disguises. Nah. He's British. Was he on the SS Burya? Villain Bolshevik without the beard? No. That doesn't make sense. McGill did? No, he's dead. Some random juror we've had before. Somehow it didn't feel like our first encounter. Don't bother trying to converse with him. He says nothing to anybody from outside this office. Lord Strongheart has strictly forbidden it. His voice would give him away. Maybe it is Detective Hosonaga. It's somebody whose voice is recognizable. It can't be Gregson. Wait. 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 It can't be Sholmes. That would be insane though. That would be hilarious. I'm just looking at his face. It is a slightly recognizable face. He's not wrong. Obviously he's covered with a mask, but... it's going to be someone who's completely unexpected. Like, it's got to be one of the biggest plot twisty moments in the whole game. But I just can't... Maybe they're already in our list of people. No. Lord Strongheart has strictly forbidden it. Oh, I see. Why are you so interested in my apprentice anyway? Oh, no, I mean... Sorry, I didn't mean to... Why he stood there so casually, yet with that flawless posture. Couldn't be Ashley Graydon, right? It couldn't be. What? It couldn't be. Oh my god, Naruto, you're giving me the most... What a fucking suspenseful way to... It couldn't be. Might be somebody that Naruto knew before the games. Couldn't be. He said it so, like... Flawless posture.
Ah, yes, there's something I've been meaning to ask you.
Oh, what's that?
The Nipponese man, is he faring well?
Sorry?
The one arrested twice in succession 6 months ago, with the stoop, and the moustache, and the jitters.
Ah, Mr. Natsume, you mean?
I'm not sure he'd be very pleased to find out you identified him from that list, Bruno.
He's fine, thank you. In fact, I received a letter from him by international post only the other day. I see.
Well, I think we can end our discussion there, don't you?
Why did he want to know? Did he just want to know that he's alive or dead?
There's little time left before tomorrow's trial. I advise you to spend it investigating the case.
Yes, thank you for the advice, and for the conversation. I can't believe he's asking after Soseki-san, after a Nipponese. I'm not sure whether I feel happy about that or worried.
I never imagined that Mr. Raper would be friends with Mad Scientist. Did you? That's a turn up for the books.
Mad scientist? Oh, you mean Professor Hairbrain? Yes, it might be worth quizzing the professor about his relationship with Lord Van Sykes, I think. That is a Japanese style thingy, isn't it? Is it a Sheen? No. Well, that was one of my favourite investigation scenes. Just because it's Van Zykes. I'm glad I took my time with it. Right, now I have to come up with a stupid professor voice. Let me listen to what he sounded like at the start.
A man will literally be disassembled by a pulse of high-voltage electricity and beamed to another location. Whereupon his body will be reassembled by a series of complex calculations exactly as it was before.
Just a really annoying voice. I might just do my own voice for it, to be honest. Because that voice is annoying. Warden said cell 11. That's this one.
Oh, there's someone curled up in a ball in the back corner, look.
What's his name again? Professor Albert Hairbrain, wasn't it? Oh wait, he's English. So Albert Hairbrain, okay. Excuse me, Professor Hairbrain. Okay. Who are you? I'm Ryunosuke Naruhodo, a lawyer. A lawyer! Was it something I said? A lawyer, you say? Would you be here? About the experiment? Are you going to defend my hypothesis? Your hypothesis? Sorry, I don't... Yesterday's demonstration! Yesterday's demonstration! That magnificent demonstration was... It was an out-and-out success, by anyone's calculations. But despite that, no one listens. No lawyer believes in the science.
when it's explained they will leave at high velocity.
Now's probably not a good time to mention that your zeal made my concentration leave for a while too.
God damn. If this guy can redeem himself in this scene, I'll be happy.
Oh, fascinating, yes.
In Japan, where I come from, it's a symbol of a defense lawyer. Wearing it is very bracing, I find.
Your words make some sense to me, but they are entirely illogical.
What do you mean?
Well, for example, I find this white laboratory coat that I wear to work very bracing too. However, in my case, there's a perfectly logical reason for that feeling.
Oh, really? What is it?
I purchased the wrong size by mistake. This one's too small for me.
Sleeves, especially, are extremely bracing. I can barely move my wrists. That's what you call logical, is it?
Of course, it's entirely logical. That's science, Mr. Naruhodo. How could this have happened?
It must feel awful. As well as a man losing his life, the Crystal Tower was greatly damaged too.
I know what happened. It must have been that.
That?
The day before the demonstration, I had my usual meal of frankfurters at the hotel restaurant. When I paid the bill, they gave me 3 shillings too much in change. But instead of saying anything, I just slipped the coins into my pocket. They're still there now. It's divine retribution for my wrongdoing. That's what this is.
A scientist, he has some very logical anecdotes. Long and illogical. God damn, he is pretty annoying. I understand Lord Van Zykes is a friend of yours from your university days.
Yes, that's right. He was studying law while I was studying science.
Who is his face that of? It couldn't be shown. What's under his... What's he wearing underneath? Somebody we know. Could it be them? Naruhodo said. I mean, I just don't know. What was he like back then?
A good question. Unassuming, gentlemanly, and an all-round nice fellow, really.
Sorry, I think you misheard me. I'm talking about the cold-hearted, merciless prosecutor, Barak Van Zykes. What was he like when he was at university?
Talk about a leading question, Rono. As I said, an unassuming, an extremely pleasant gentleman. After all, he had the little darling of the Van Zykes family. He is the little darling of the Van Zykes family,
with all its great After all, he is the little darling of the Van Zykes family, with all its great aristocratic origins.
I didn't realise he had quite such noble blood.
Little darling? It was a bit of a shock when I came back to Britain and learnt what he'd become. The Reaper of the Bailey, no less. Yes, that's right. I did hear, though, that there was a very big event in his life that completely changed him after graduation. Really? What sort of event? Oh! I'm sorry. Well, I don't know anymore. I wasn't in the country at the time. I was in Germany already. Oh, yes, of course. He's heard all about the Reaper. I really don't have the heart to tell him that Lord Van Zykes will be the prosecutor in court tomorrow. I'm really hoping that it's a change and that we get to his apprentice. You mentioned the demonstration yesterday.
The papers have called it a spectacular failure. After all, a man died in the explosion, didn't he?
Oh! Yes, you could interpret the results that way if you really wanted to. Well, I suppose in the strictest sense, the experiment was a failure, but at the same time, it was a great success. You've lost me. I saw it with my own eyes, right there in front of me. Mr. Asman was spontaneously disassembled. Until then, everything was going exactly as my calculations had predicted. At that point, he should have been beamed to the Crystal Tower by instantaneous kinesis. However, the machine exploded and Mr. Asman, in fact, perished. Yes, I can't deny that part of the experiment was a failure. So what you're really saying is that the large explosion that killed Mr. Asman was an accident, correct?
But the bigwigs have had you arrested on suspicion of murder.
If we actually have to prove that it was an accident, oh my god, I would probably just fucking die, because we'd have to do so many stupid, bullshitty, weird, like, nonsensical arguments about his machine, right? I was responsible for a man's death. That's the immutable truth here. For that, I wish to be punished at once. But murder? Never in a million years. It was an accident. Simply an accident. I see.
Hurley and I were talking this morning, you know. He said the situation would change completely depending on whether it was treated as an accident or murder.
How exactly?
Well, if it really was an accident, then the Professor's machine would be kept in protective custody.
On what grounds?
Oh yes, it's newly established here in Britain. The special dispensation for the scientific
Fucking hell.
Oh yes, it's newly established here in Britain. The Special Dispensation for Scientific Equipment Act.
That one passed me by.
But if the case is treated as murder, then they'll say my machine was the murder weapon, and they'll be able to pore over it as much as they like. If they examine it in detail, they'll find out how it's made, and then they'll be able to copy my idea. My precious hypothesis will be stolen. The machine must be protected from that at all costs. That's why it's imperative this whole incident is shown to have been an accident in tomorrow's trial.
Ah, I see now. So in short, there was a terrible accident at the Great Exhibition Showground yesterday.
Yes, or rather no. The devil is in the details. Strictly speaking,
There was a terrible explosion. Sounds the same to me.
You were demonstrating super high voltage instantaneous kinesis, weren't you? How fascinating.
Humans, like all matter, are made up of particles that are held together by electrical bonds. So it must be possible, using a sufficiently high voltage, to break those bonds and beam the particles through space. That's it in a nutshell. That's my idea, you see. That's my amazing hypothesis. Gosh, that's unimaginably high-level science. Somebody in 150 years in the future could probably, even if a layman was involved, they would probably be able to scoff at the idea. Oh, but dare to imagine it! Dare to dream of such incredible technology! Just think, one moment I could be here in this cell, and the next I could be at the Great Exhibition again. Well, yes, that would be incredible. And then the next, in the mere blink of an eye, I could be at a great Parisian theatre, say. Possibilities are endless. The whole of our vast planet would be within reach. So no more hiding in wardrobes on the rocky seas for 50 days.
I don't really see it like that.
What do you mean, Iris?
Well, if you could travel anywhere in the world instantly, the planet wouldn't really seem vast anymore, would it? I feel like it'd feel like it'd shrunk.
My word! Yeah, that's exactly right. What are the implications? What does this mean?
Oops, that's got Professor Bunnybrain really worried by the look of it.
Clearly, this is yet another case of just because you can doesn't mean you should, I suppose. The point is, my calculations are flawless. The science works. Without a practical demonstration, it means nothing. And that's always the fly in the ointment.
Because practical demonstrations cost a lot of money. Money that young scientists like you don't have.
That's exactly it, yes.
Hurley's always complaining about it. He says the government should invest more in science.
Well, anyway, I bumped into him at the right time. I met the well-known investor, Mr. Asman. The victim who died in yesterday's terrible accident, you mean? Okay, that's why he was the... Okay, he funded it. The full name of the man who died in yesterday's accident was Mr. Odi Asman, wasn't it? What exactly was your relationship with the man? He first visited me in my laboratory in Germany a year ago now. He said he wanted to invest in my immaculate hypothesis. I thank my lucky stars. I see. So you hadn't really known each other until then?
Money for scientific research? I'm so envious.
As far as I was concerned, the man was an angel. Oh, really? An archangel, even. He was prepared to fund a practical demonstration of my hypothesis for presentation at the Grand Exhibition. And if that went well, I could expect additional financial support for my research from the British government. Mr. Asman provided me with money and an exceptional engineer. He produced the machine to my precise specifications. Maybe the engineer is a murderer?
But then your dreams were blown to dust in one enormous explosion.
As you can see, I owed everything to Mr. Asman. I would never, ever have thought of taking the man's life. Well, he seems genuine enough. I don't think he's lying. So, Professor, let me just make one thing absolutely sure. Let me just make sure I've absolutely understood you. So, Professor, let me just make absolutely sure I've understood you properly. The huge explosion that occurred yesterday, that was an accident, you're saying? You had no intent to harm the victim, who was in fact the sole investor in your work. Is that correct? As correct as 2 squared is 4. I swear it. Yes, it's true that the man perished in a machine of my invention. So I know that I'm far from blameless in all this. But still, I would never use my discoveries, my inventions, to take a person's life, not in a centillion years. I'm a man of science. That's all I know. You have to believe me, please. Centillion? Did you mean the Google years? Or was the word Google not around at this time? Google. Or is that not what it means? Oh, because at this point, a billion was what we now call a trillion. It was a big billion, not a small billion. Right? And you had the billiard and shit. Was termed in the term was coined in 1920 by a 9-year-old Milton Sirota, nephew of US mathematician Edward Kasner. Kasner popularized the concept in his 1940 book. Other names for the quantity include 10 duotringintillion on the short scale, 10,000 sextillion on the long scale, or 10 sextilliard on the Pelletier long scale. Let me look up what a centillion is then. Centillion? Is 10 to the power 303 or 10 to the power 600. So because of it, probably 10 to the power 600. Which is really big. Million, billion, trillion. Okay, right, because you keep adding 3 zeros, so it's 3 times. Oh! Yeah, so a billion is a million million. Million square. Okay. Million, million, and then what's a million billion? Million billion is that's 10 to the 6 times 10 to the 12, which is 10 to the 18. Okay, yeah. So you just keep times it by a million. So a million cubed is a trillion in the old system. So that means that a centillion is a million to the power of 100 rather than 10 to the power of 100. That's all right. That's cool. You have to believe me, please. Do you believe me? Do you believe in my hypothesis? Science is the pursuit of truth, you know. I've always believed that all my life. I'm afraid I don't know much about science or your theories, but I do believe you, and I will fight to prove your innocence with all my might. I'm a man of the law. That's all I know. You have to believe me, please. When I went to live in Germany after I graduated, I learned something very important. Nationality, class, lineage, none of that matters. As long as you try your hardest, you can achieve anything. Thank you for that, Professor. And thank you in advance for defending me tomorrow in court. Alright, Reno. It's time. Time to visit the Great Exhibition. Sorry? Well, that's where the incident happened, isn't it? Yes, I suppose it's true. Time to investigate at last. I'm gonna leave it here, I think. Poor Professor Bunnybrain, but don't worry, we'll come to your rescue. Dunka 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 dunka. Right, I shall leave it here. That was a very long stream, actually, wasn't it? It was 2 hours 16. That sounds alright. Alright then. That's